Welcome back to another N-Cut movie review. Today we have Squid Game Season 2, the most anticipated season probably ever. Did it live up to the expectation? Let's find out.
Season 2 picks up immediately where Season 1 ended. Lee Jong-jae is in the airport. He decides he doesn't want to go on the plane and that he actually wants to turn around and fight the Squid Games. He wants to finish the Squid Games forever. And then for the next 2 or 3 episodes, we see Lee Jong-jae's character sort of using his own little mafia squad to try and find the recruiter who found him in Season 1 with the game Dagajim. And eventually he finds the recruiter. He ends up back in the game. He thinks he has the upper hand on the Squid Games creators. It turns out he does not. And then he's literally locked in the games again for another whole season. And straight off the bat, from the first 2 or 3 episodes, you feel that this season is a little bit different from Season 1. And Season 1 was this brand new thing that no one had really experienced before. I mean, we've seen the Hunger Games before, very similar, although more of like a comical version of the Hunger Games, whereas the Hunger Games is real cutthroat, even though this TV show is completely cutthroat. But the games feel a little bit more like primary school games like you would play when you're a child, whereas the Hunger Games is just all-out warfare. But in this season, you immediately feel a change. The games that we thought we were coming to see aren't even shown on screen. You don't actually get involved in any of the games until the 3rd episode, probably halfway through the 3rd episode. So immediately you get this different sort of feel about the TV show. You start seeing more backstory things. You're seeing Lee Jung-jae's character trying to take out the games director, take out the VIPs. You see Wee Ha-jun. We remember him from Season 1. He was shot by his brother. He fell off the cliff. He survived. He is trying to find the makers of the game. He wants to find his brother. He wants to find out what happened to his brother. And look, that's not a bad thing that they're going with a different direction, but I think it might have caught a lot of people off guard because Season 1 was so interesting, so different. And of course, it came along at such a crazy time during COVID. And so when Season 2 starts and the first 2.5, 3 episodes aren't even Squid Game related in regards to the games, I think it caught people off guard a little bit. It felt quite rushed. But the one thing that I felt immediately watching this TV show is this is a part 2 for a part 3. You could feel that in this season, the characters felt more expendable and that they didn't really work on creating any sort of relationship with you and the characters. Whereas in Season 1, I could remember pretty much all of the main characters' faces off by heart, and when I see them I go, I remember what you did. Whereas in this season they were more expendable because it wasn't so much focused on the games as the whole picture.
The story didn't feel rushed at all. It actually felt like they were really
pacing it out.
The pacing
almost too long.
The pacing was almost too long.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with TV shows when it's so successful in the first one, is because it was so quick into getting what the story was trying to push to you, which then, in turn, gives us more attachment to the characters. Yeah. But unfortunately, we didn't get attached to these characters yet because you only feel that attachment when they go through something. Yeah. Most of them haven't gone through a whole lot of things. We've already seen the Squid Game, so we know that they are collectively going to go through the same thing, which is almost near-death experiences.
And they're not all going to survive.
But they are going to, because we know exactly on the second season who was going to survive and which characters were going to. Because they immediately imprinted on you who was going to do that. In the first one, you were guessing, okay, this person, very, very big character, clearly not going to die.
Exactly.
Then what happens? They fucking die. You're like, what the hell is going on? It's almost like Game of Thrones where they kill off Ned Stark. You're like, what's going on with this? So that was a very good take from Squid Games at the very first season. But unfortunately, in this season, there's just not enough attachment to the characters. And I really wish there were, because there is a lot of like behind the scenes things that you think of while watching this. Is more of the VIPs now into the games? Are they sick of watching on the top of the fucking mantle and now wanting to jump into the games because they saw what the old man did in the first one? And he said it's way funner to be in the games and playing with friends than not being and sitting back and watching the sidelines. And that's very evident from the front man, 001, who is now joined up in here. He's playing the games.
And 001 definitely I felt carried. I feel like without him there, they would have struggled to find sort of something of substance to make the games really worth watching. Because I enjoyed watching him the whole time being like, what is he up to? I could tell, and this was like something you had to really look close for. In the game where they had the 4 different mini games and each player had to decide which game they were playing, he was actually throwing it with his opposite hand. And like that was like a little thing that people had to like watch, because when he picks up the gun in episode 7, episode 6, he's holding the gun in his right hand, and then in the other game with the spinning top, he's holding it with his left hand. Little things that you can notice in the show that were kind of really well done. But if he wasn't in there, I think that those last few episodes would have been real boring.
Yeah, I agree. I also think if you look at those like little attention to detail things that the Squid Games are putting in there, why did the old lady, why is she the only one allowed to go with a weapon in there? She has a hair clip in there. That can be used as a weapon. And even Jong-jae's tooth chip was taken out. So they know what they're looking for. You can kind of see like the implementation of what the director's going for. You can see that he's trying to push these other characters to be more influential than just the main one that we're used to. And I think that that's a big thing within the second season. Could you really just make another season with them playing games? I think we all would have been happy if that was the case. I actually think think that he's going for a deeper meaning to this shit. He can't be constantly making you watch games, constantly coming up with new ideas, because it gets too repetitive. So I think he's initially just going with a bigger story. And there's so many things that are popping up on this that it's behind the scenes, and it's a bit more of a lore building scene, is just so evident throughout this entire season. It's just constant. It's almost like I just want games at this point. That's, I think, what Thanos is for, to be honest, is to push that fun side.
Yeah, but I think like he didn't even give us a chance to sort of build relationships with these characters. Like Josh mentioned earlier in the review, you know, they push certain characters to you that you knew were going to be the ones to survive. I mean, the pregnant girl's not dying. The mum's not dying. 333's not dying. You know, the main character from season 1, he's not dying either. So there were certain characters, and look, this comes from a place where in season 1, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know anything. We weren't coming into this with any predispositions. We had no idea. It was all new to us. Whereas now we know what's coming. And now we know that there's going to be a group of people that survive. I just think that in this game, it wasn't really left a chance who was going to survive. You knew straight away. The best way to sort of describe that is the group with the mum, the son, the trans, the religious lady, and then the girl who wanted to like come to the mum's house, have supper, stuff like that. They sacrificed the girl that wanted, the young girl, and we see the trans character, she goes crazy, she goes mental. But while that felt something, you knew it was going to be her. You knew they weren't going to sacrifice any of the other characters, because you just thought the way that those characters have had a certain amount of screen time, and the one who had the least amount was the girl that got killed.
Yeah, and Geordie's onto something there. If you watch this season back and you see everyone with a talking role, they're still there.
Exactly.
There's only 2 people who might not be still there.
Yep.
That's really about it. And they had to do that because the season was ending.
Yep.
So they're like, oh, we got to fucking make this interesting.
Yep.
Let's kill someone off.
Yep.
And Thanos, who's played by T.O.P, he was given 0 script. Mm-hmm. All of this was off the top of his head. So you can just see how impressive his kind of, you know, improv skills are throughout this entire season. He literally looks like the only guy who hasn't been given a script, and you don't even know that because he's kind of, you know, crazy and he's a drug head and all these type of things come into it.
This could be like a controversial topic because people would have gone one way or the other way, but I fucking hated Thanos' character. I thought he was the worst character in the whole show. Now, maybe that's what they were going for, and if they were, they achieved it, but I just thought every time he came on, it felt so forced. It makes sense now that you hear that he didn't have a script, but why was he speaking English?
Senorita, my beauty flower. I'm a legend, Thanos.
That made me feel like, and there was other aspects of this show, season 2, that made me feel like this as well, that Netflix got involved.
Yeah.
This season felt so much more commercialized than the first season. The first season was a K-drama. We know Korean shows are really high quality. We know their acting is really high quality. They don't just fuck around. They make good stuff. And the first one felt genuine to a Korean drama. This one felt like Netflix was like, we know this is going to be big now, and people are just going to watch this for the name, so let us get involved a little bit. Let us put these things in that we think works well. It's like, no, get your goddamn hands off of Netflix and let the creator of the show do what he wants to do. That's why this season, there was other aspects that felt commercialized as well. I mean, there's music choices in there where I'm like, well, that's not Korean kind of music. It's just like English listener sort of music to make maybe people who aren't Korean watch this and be like, oh, they're trying to put the show towards us more. Why is a trans person in there when in Korea that is literally like illegal? These things are different parts of the show that felt like they were so commercialized from Netflix.
I thought actually Park Sun-hoon, who was playing the trans person, was actually pretty good. I thought that his acting was fucking phenomenal.
It was great.
And and by the way, his character was good. Like if you watch the character, apart from, you know, the bit where, to be fair, I didn't fucking care that he was kicking in front of people or anything, but that was a bit like put on. And that's where the commercialized thing comes into it. But I think that when you're watching his character, it's good. You can see the development. You can see how much he gets attached to a different character that he loses. And you can see everything that character is trying to be. And then it goes into a random dialogue where you're like, this dialogue is not needed. Let's just push something else.
And it's also like, it's not a problem, but it becomes a problem when in Korea, it's illegal. And when in Korea, they literally cannot hire a trans actor because they're not allowed. So this is where the commercialization of the Netflix side of it comes from. It's like, where did this show lose its sort of its value in the fact that Netflix got a hold of it? And also, like Josh mentioned with the scene where, you know, she didn't want to kick in front of everyone. Excuse me? How hung is this person? That is not how that works.
It's Korean.
Can't be that hung. As 2 males, you can kick a ball and not see you swanging meat.
Yeah.
Pause. But like, how hung is this fucking dude?
Yeah, it must be like Ron Jeremy hung type shit.
Because, you know, that's not how physics works. But this is the sort of little things that like it takes you out of the show a little bit, and it felt so commercialized.
Because when you play sport,
exactly,
it shrinks.
It does.
It fucking
literally shrinks.
You don't even know if it's there anymore.
Sports dick. Runner's dick. All the guys out there listening to
Everyone knows this.
They know this.
Everyone knows this. But why the fuck are they pushing?
That's what I mean. Like, when that happened, it took me out of the show. It took me so quickly out of the show, and I was like, this is an agenda. Like there's being something pushed to you.
A lot of the set designs and stuff was still really good because they're so iconic. You look at these things, they had to bring back some of the original games like Red Light, Green Light. But then you go onto these new games which were like, oh my God, this is what we want. I want a new game. And then they had a really cool idea for having these 4 mini games into a bigger scene, and it just takes you out of it with a little bit of dialogue. But I just wish that they had more prioritized on the games. I really wish that the games were front and center, because I think that's what you get from the title. If you look at it, Squid Games. It's not, Squid pushing other agendas that Netflix wants to push. I don't want to do that.
And I felt that the games themselves was a little bit boring in a way. Like, I know they had to bring Red Light, Green Light back because that's just synonymous with Squid Game. I get it. But once again, it didn't really feel like it had the tension in it, especially with the main character yelling in his arm the whole time. It sort of just took you out of it a little bit because he knew what the game was. But sort of redeemed itself with that game where they had to run into the doors and they picked like a different number. So like 4 in here, 5 in here, 2 in here.
On the carousel or whatever.
On the carousel. That redeemed it because it brought back the vibe. It brought back that like, holy shit, who's going to survive? Like, what's going to happen here? So he still had the ability, the creator of the show, to bring out games that made you nervous. It's just like, even the game with the 4 mini games, it just felt like almost in a way a spoof of season 1. They're all so happy, they're all so cheering, and it's just like the first season didn't have any of that.
See, I actually liked that of the mini games because I think it showed how much they loved that people getting around and winning compared to everyone trying to be so greedy that they were just for the money. A little different of an idea that the director was going for. I enjoyed when Player 1, who is, the front man, he forgot where he was and was just enjoying where the games were for what his father saw them for while he was there playing.
But I also think he had plot armor. Like, he knew he wasn't going to be able to get killed.
I completely agree. I think him being like left-handed and then playing with his right hand, which he had a preconceived idea going into that. I wonder what would have happened if he didn't get this thing to spin. Would he have just been fucking shot, or would they extend the clock, or what would have happened?
Did you notice that there was no other group, there was no other people
around? I did notice that.
If everyone else gets shot and he doesn't, no one's going to know.
But then if they're all dying, which he wants them to survive regardless, how the fuck is that going to happen? Like, but he loves the first dude. He's got some type of connection with 456. Because there is a lot of conspiracies out there that is happening with Squid Games. But that's how deep I think that the director's going into the lore and into making you think about what's happening. Maybe that did take away from what the games were and what Squid Games you're watching.
It almost became like a detective show in a way. Like, it just sort of followed out into a detective show where and it's almost like the Squid Game took a back seat, which look is going to take a lot of people by surprise because they're like, we just want to see the Squid Game again. But I can understand why the director didn't just want to do that, because if you just do that, what's new?
You definitely would have people complaining about if it was new or if it was old.
But also, like, the intensity is sort of taken off it a bit because we know what's coming. Like, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, so you do have to go a different route. Otherwise, it's like you said, we could just do 10 seasons of Squid Game and then it just becomes Hunger Games. It's literally just Hunger Games.
Forever.
This felt like a typical middle movie out of a trilogy because it was just like throwaway characters, things that sort of happen that move the plot a little bit but not too much because they can't move it too much because they've got to have a final season that's going to end everything. So it's just sort of like, here's these people, here's that people, and it just like ends. All right, now season 3 comes, we're going to finish it.
That's one thing I will say that I did not like about this at all. Why was it shorter than the first season? Make it the same fucking episode length. Don't make it 2 different parts. Don't ever do that. We know that when it goes into 2 parts, it's not going to be very good.
The ability for the show to make like really annoying characters was evident again in this season. Thanos, most annoying character. His right-hand man. God, I wanted that guy to die the whole time. The little pipsqueak in that group that lets Nose Ring Girl get stabbed to death because he can't throw a goddamn bottle at the back of some dude's head. Come on, man.
I would jump on top of that guy, pause, like Batman from the fucking top of Gotham. He would be deaded.
333? I mean, cryptocurrency. What's Haley Welch doing in there? Huck to a girl.
Rug pulled.
Literally. He was so annoying. Even though he redeems himself a little bit towards the end and you sort of go like, all right, good on ya. I didn't like that guy either. The mum's son. Oh my God, I hated the mum's son so much.
Degenerate. Loser.
Degenerate. Literally the degenerate. You can see the gambler's mind literally coming out of this man like involuntarily. And then the moment when he breaks to it, I actually have more debt than, she just wants to go home for some soup. You deserve to fucking die, you degenerate piece of shit.
I agree.
The show was able to make good characters that you hated. It just didn't feel any deeper than that. It's like they were just there to be hated. That's it. Nothing more.
You're goddamn right.
Another thing in this TV show, the music makes you feel all types of way. That Carousel song is still stuck in my head to this day.
I just love the... That song is like embedded in my brain. I love that. But the one thing I will take away from this show, and look, this is what happens when you do such a great first season. I can't wait for season 3 because I just want to see how this ends. So whether that's because the show's good or because we're halfway through and I wanted to finish it, I don't know. But
yeah, so as always, guys, we end these reviews with a rating, and I think you should watch it. It's a fucking phenomenal TV show, especially the first season. This one's not as good, but it still is very, very good. I liked it a lot. Other than that, can't wait for season 3. Bring it on.
Yeah, my rating for this one. I mean, if you've seen season 1, you're probably going to watch this season. It moves the needle a little bit. It definitely doesn't have really any of the redeeming qualities that season 1 had.
If you guys enjoyed the review, do not forget to like and subscribe. Anyway, guys, it's been another Cut Movie Review. Peace, we're out.
Peace.
And cut.